Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you all in today's panel discussion where we're discussing about the conceptualizing the new age Gen AI product and platform. I am Saurabh Kaushik, Director of Data and AI Platform at IBM Software, and I will be your moderator for this exciting conversation. We are at the inflection point of this AI journey. I consider platform between platform and product is whenever the new technology comes, either we are building for technology or building with technology. With the current situation of the Gen AI technology, it is fundamentally reshaping how we think about the product or platform, whether it's about conceptualizing it, building it, or scaling it. The landscape is changing from predictive to generative AI system to agentic, from pair programming to vibe programming to autonomous programming to co-pilot to autonomous co-agent to the agent mesh, and the business models are transforming and breaking the old ones. With the real challenges continue to lies like that. It's not about just using technology or building demos. It is about building a platform or product which is useful to our customer and purposeful and scalable from the build point of view. I'm very happy and thanks to the 3AI for assembling such a powerful panel today. Today, we're going to explore some of the key point in the how this Gen AI get conceptualized from the product and platform point of view. How do we build and scale, and how do we basically what are the key things holds in the future? To start with, I'll welcome in my fellow panel, especially Soumya, to give her point of view, how she has seen in her professional career, that how she conceptualizes these platform or product in her career journey, or how she thinks about it. Soumya, please.
Thank you, Saurabh, and thanks to 3AI for this wonderful opportunity for all of us. So, as a product leader, conceptualizing an early stage Gen AI platform, my approach generally would be deeply human centric, focusing on delivering tangible value to users while navigating the unique challenges of this technology, right? So, when we conceptualize, the roadmap begins with a deep dive focusing on the what and the why. So, you should always think about solving a real problem, not just a tech demo. We are not building AI for the sake of AI. What genuine pain point or unaddressed need does this Gen AI platform solve for our target users? That should be the question that you should be asking. What are the most pressing problems our users or our customers face? Where are the current bottlenecks and inefficiencies or any unmet needs? So, problem first approach by not starting with how can we use Gen AI, but start thinking about what problem can we solve uniquely with Gen AI. So that's the first thing that I would focus on. The second thing is augmenting human capabilities and not really replacing them. So thinking more from a user-centric design. So conduct extensive user research, empathy mapping, and journey mapping. Understand the pain points of your users and their aspirations and how they currently interact with your solutions, right? So our platform should act as a powerful co-pilot, amplifying human intelligence and creativity. It's about giving people the superpowers, not automating them out of the loop. So this means that you need to design for collaboration and control and allowing users to guide and refine the AI's output. The third thing I will focus on is market analysis and white space identification. You really need to know your product market fit. Where are the gaps in the market? What the competitors are not doing with Gen AI that you would like to do? And are there any completely new markets that Gen AI enables? And last but not the least, always think about simplicity and intuition first. And when you do that, the value proposition definition. You need to clearly articulate the unique value proposition that a Gen AI product would bring. How does it change the game for the users or for the business? And if you consider this as the wheel of sorts in terms of the succinct points that I had emphasized, trust, transparency, iteration with users, safety, fairness, and ethics and scalability, they all will become the cogs that would drive this wheel. That's how I would like to conceptualize an early stage Gen AI platform, sort of.
Yeah, I really appreciate Soumya for your perspective. Like the problem-centric, user-centric, market analysis bringing in the simplicity and the user and value proposition. I think really you packaged it well. And I think I want to bring Sahil, who works with the client and solve their problem on day in day out and various enterprise clients. Sahil, if you want to bring your point of view, how you have seen your customer building platform and all that platform and product in their space. Over to you,
Thank you,
Hanika.
Saurav, and thank you, Soumya, for articulating the points very well. I would like to, continue, from, where Soumya mentioned about problem first approach, right? And she was, clearly mentioning about user journeys, user mapping, and everything, right? And I think that's the core. Without that, any product should not even be started. Why and what part she already mentioned, right? I would like to add one more aspect there, because in reality, your customer and your user will be different. In B2B setup, you will see, the CXO level, buying those products, and someone at ground level or at frontline level, they'll be using those products, right? Now, to meet both users and the customer KRAs is very important, right? I think that will be your first, there will be first gatekeeper for your product, right? And unless their objectives are met, it will not go through. So problems has to be think in that way.
Correct.
Second part is the ROI. Of course, the ROI can come in different ways. Some will be about customer experience, somewhere revenue bump up, cost optimization. That will be one part we have to always look at, and we have to think about the impact we're going to create. Now impact comes either in the numbers, quantitative 15% jump in revenue by using this new product, that's what you can claim. But the most important in the user journey perspective will be the emotional impact, right? How much it kind of reduces my work on day-to-day basis, what mundane activities I do every day, whether it can help me there. That's the second part. Third point I would like to go is, if you're building Gen AI product, you have to look at you are, how your product is actually shaping, whether it is too Gen AI heavy, which means, you will be replaceable tomorrow, because the LLMs are evolving. As you see, in early stage of, when chat GPTs came, there were PDF, to text kind of, multiple companies which mushroomed. But now many of the things, the LLMs can do. So what I mean is, when, let's say, I'm just giving a number, the numbers will is not written on the stone. If your platform is 80% of problem solving and 20% of Gen AI, I think that's the ideal stage you would like to be. But if you are having 80-90% Gen AI and only very thin layer of problem solving, I think that product will not last long in the market. And last but not least, where Soumya spoke about product market fit, that's definitely valid point. But in the early stage of development, I think we have to look at how we are combining GTM and product functions together, which means you have to build, measure and learn, which means you have to go to market as early as possible. It can be as less as one day. Example, Dropbox, they launched very early. They had learnings, they got user interest captured, and based on that, they shaped their product. And it has to, again, you can bring the concept of Kaizen, which is about continuous improvement, reducing the wastage, which again comes from Toyota, systems, where they try to reduce moda modi kind of thing they call, right? I think if we don't do product market fit very well, you will be having more founders or manager centric product rather than user centric. That's where
Absolutely.
I would like to end.
Yeah, thanks for Sahil. I think it's really spot on. So, with having set the vision and strategy and the conceptualization, okay. So, I think next comes is the execution, which is where we talk about the building and scaling. And I think nothing, no better person than the Biju, who has actually shaped the SAP HANA big data, known big data platform in the world. Like how he has seen that whole building and scaling part of it. So, Biju, if you like to put some highlight, like how you gone about like taking the right decision to shape it up.
Sure, sort of. Yeah. So I see that there are three, phases. I mean, phase one, MAB itself, which Soumya mentioned, where we talk about, customer empathy, user research itself. So this is focused on proving product market fit with lean team and clear success criteria. So between MVP and scale, there is a growth phase. So the growth phase, we focus on expanding features, building customer acquisition engines, etc. So in the scale phase, we look further on platform ecosystem development and global expansion. So let's look at this in little more detail. In MVP phase, we start with persona development. We look at the basic platform architecture, implementation, etc. Initially, we design the user interface. In the next phase, which I call as growth phase, thing is to pay, looking at the expansion of the platform, where we build the multimodal capabilities, integrations, enterprise feature rollouts, etc. Additionally, leaders who is responsible need to look at market penetration. So key task here is to expand strategic partnership and implement customer success program. So there has to be a proper feedback loop optimization, because a lot of customers might be starting to implement your product. Final phase is the scale phase, where you need to look and go beyond your boundaries. Here, you need to look for expanding globally. You need to build your ecosystem on a large scale. So main action points here are probably international markets entry. Not only international market, but to enter into different customer segments. We also need to build more localization. To establish regional partnership development. Another important thing is to look at all this, compliance things like ethics, MVP, etc., where you can build localization, properly. The final important point is we deal with scale. We have to look at the ecosystem development. Maybe it is already there in the growth phase, but it has to be brought to a more mature stage. So overall, I see this as a time-bound gradual transition. Yeah, phase of this happens depending on the management, strategy and the aggression. Yeah.
Thanks. I think your SAP enterprise software development, I think, is really coming out, like how we look at the system expansion, localization, compliance, and I think it's sort of a very essential part for launching any platform or product in the enterprise. So I think you have been in most regulated industry of any industry. So what is your point of view while building and scaling any product? Platform?
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh, and thanks, Biju. I think Biju's point in terms of localization, and also how there are various phases that really essentially tells us that we need to build for a sprint, not a marathon. So our initial infrastructure needs to be scalable enough for that first burst of excitement. But once we know that the people love our core offering, it's essentially time to pour gasoline on the fire. So I would essentially emphasize on unlocking new dimensions. So this is where we need to go beyond the initial promise when you want to ignite the growth and scale for impact. So for example, you need to think about, hey, if we started with text, now we need to add images, audio, or code generation based on demand. We might need to build specialized models for specific industries, or you might need to offer users deeper control and customization over the outputs. Maybe even the ability to teach the AI their brand voice, right? So, and we also need to explore agentic capabilities where our AI can chain together multiple steps to solve more complex problems. And this also means that auto scaling is important, because that flexes effortlessly with demand distributed systems for bulletproof reliability and highly optimized model serving to keep things lightning fast, right? So crucially, we might need to invest in mature MLOps practices where you have automated data pipelines, continuous model improvement, and vigilant monitoring for model drift. So as the environments change and you scale, and the customers who loved your product with your core offering, their demands change, you need to continuously monitor for the model drift. And last but not the least, two things that you need to keep in mind while you do this is smart monetization and ethical AI at scale. So as you deliver more value and as your business model evolves, you need to move from simple pricing to tiered subscriptions. You need to explore enterprise sales for custom solutions, and you need to shift towards value-based pricing that reflects the impact that you're having. And last but not the least, ethical AI should never be an afterthought. As that platform touches more lives, we need to formalize our AI ethics guidelines. We need to actively work on bias detection and mitigation at scale. And we need to ensure that you are responsible, you are transparent, and you are compliant with the evolving regulations. So it's always about being user obsessed, making data-driven decisions, and embracing this continuous iteration when you want to scale a particular product.
Yeah, definitely. And I really love your, so the way we think about it's not the sprint, and it's a marathon, and this is how we should think, what would be. And thanks a lot for, I think, get tapping on to the cautious part of it, or the risk part of it, where all these, the risk, like hallucination, cost, trust, plays out, and certainly the responsible AI or ethical AI actually plays into it. So Sahil, I think, I'm sure, how does your client looks at it, when they look at that, the general inhibition to adopt these kind of technology, which has a huge implication of their reputation. Thanks. Go ahead,
Right.
Sahil.
I think Soumya already mentioned about ethics is can't be the afterthought. It has to be thought much before, right? I think the core point I would like to cover, when you're designing a platform, typically, when you look from the user journey perspective that we discuss, we start with problem first approach, and that's where we typically translate, yeah, AI first, but right, typically ethics are not taken in many of the platforms at a first thought, right? But that's the core. And at ram.ai, again, when we designed, we were ethics first. The way we designed the data bifurcation stratification, that was clearly done. And when we today talk to customers, typically, after all demos are done, everything is agreed, right? The question is always about, how about trust, how you will use our data, right? So that's because, see, earlier days when we were making data models, we were limiting a very limited data. Some structured, some unstructured, will bring to a data platform and then do the things. But with Gen AI, we typically need all the data to be there to make the value. So they want to make sure the data is not leaked. It is taken care. It is not utilized in the training and everything of our own models. Right? That's the one part. And then trust, transparency, the lineage of the data, because Gen AI may generate answer from multiple sources. How that answers are coming, how that explainability is definitely required. And the another part, from the user perspective, is if your platform is making any change in their behavior, because ultimately culture is the biggest barrier for your product adoption. Let's say they are tried on some platforms like CRMs, like Salesforce, Slack, and other collaboration tool, and your platform is inducing some habit change, some change, then adoption will happen. So you have to make sure that platform is kind of having omni channel, omni platform, where it can be accessed from multiple platforms, right? Another part I would like to cover, from typically, as you mentioned about trust also, the intent of the platform should be very clearly mentioned. For example, if you're using certain data for, let's say, making some personalization, but if you start using social scoring, right, that is typically, again, that comes under European Union regulations, which is kind of extension of GDPR in the AI world. That should be taken care. Another part is because uh, something called bring your own AI. Typically many enterprises have tied up with Gemini or different LLM platform. Whether your platform works with all the different LLMs, I think that should also be taken care. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. I think a very comprehensive. I think the AI, or the ethical AI first approach, I think is a certainly way to go, and I think well put point. So I'd like to put the most fun question of all the thing is, how do we see the future? So I want all of you to reflect on, what are what, stick your neck out, what are the key technology trend will change the landscape for the product and platform, the way we build it. Horizon could be like 1 year or 2 year kind of thing. You can actually bring it. So I'll let Biju go first on his perspective on this.
Sure, Saurav. So I see, there are three mega trends that is emerging. First, as we know, the agents are everywhere. So the rise of AI agents in AI. So we are moving to autonomous agents, which can actually do a lot of things synchronously, collaboratively. And platforms are becoming orchestrators of AI agent ecosystems. So emergence of reasoning model is on the way now, from cancer diagnosis to autonomous surgical planning. There is multi-model in everything. You seamlessly process a lot of multiple kind of data, videos, audios, images, real world sensors. parallelly, simultaneously, and you can even watch your video calls and autonomously create action items. So all those things are going to be reality now. So and the last point I want to mention is uh, the the departure of the cloud native architecture and the arrival of the edge first AI architecture. So the cloud AI era is probably slowly ending, because of privacy regulations, latency requirements, and cost pressure, etc. So now it's going to be the edge era. So AI will be running on your phone. That's more powerful than today's cloud models. I think chips will be designed specifically for local, now mobile specific workloads, changing cost equations. So overall, I see better performance, lower cost, and most reliable outputs from all the platform in the coming days. Yeah.
Yeah, the great view, and I think I could see that yesterday only the Google has announced that like Android VR, and I think and on the goggle, I think the AI is available in a flick of a second.
Yes.
Sahil, if you want to just quickly talk about like what is your take on like how this technology will transform the way we look at the product today at the moment.
Yeah. I think Biju has covered very very important points already. I would like to add one more angle to it, right? See, now as of now, Gen AI platforms are typically very very generic. They try to solve a general problem, providing LLMs, picture editing, and there are multiple forms, right? But now with evolvement of AI agents, right now what we are looking at is a domain centric AI and domains and functions. For example, as per McKinsey data, the Gen AI is gonna add most value in sales and marketing and then product development, right? That's a typically angles we are seeing, and then you will see typically the domains which will add where Gen AI will add the faster value, like healthcare, other places where more customer centric retail and everything, right? There you will see domain centric Gen AI platforms coming up. That will happen. And you can definitely see this as we earlier discussed about in the user journey part, that the Gen AI has to kind of platform has to interact with multiple existing ecosystems, right? Now to support that, AI agents are already there. And when we talk about AI agent, as Soumya already mentioned about collaboration, now it has to collaborate with humans, right? And again learn from them. Feedback loop will be very very important, a part of the any platform, so that they can talk to each other, they can learn from each other. And the other technology in Gen AI is which is there is now MCP, which is model context protocol. So typically it's like it's a kind of medium. Now let's say Salesforce can have its own MCP agent, and you don't need to typically the way you integrate. MCP can talk to your agent, can talk to Salesforce MCP, and that's the kind of smooth interface will be given. And when we say that, right, all this domain centric, the evolvement of AI agent, autonomous Gen AI, that will be possible. And another part which when we talk about domain centric is there will be evolvement of domain centric ontologies, which will ultimately power up all this transition.
Right. Thanks, Sahil, for that perspective. Soumya, would you like to add? I think you started the conversation and ending conversation with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I think Sahil and Biju have covered a lot of it in terms of, how we need to move away from one size fits all with domain specific models and enhance capabilities through multimodal AI, which Biju covered. There are two things that I would like to leave this audience with thought. One is emphasis on data quality and management. So data centric evolution is key when you are thinking about Gen AI platforms and as they are rapidly evolving and moving beyond the initial chatbot and image generation capability to become integral to various industries. So think about data as Gen AI models rely heavily on data. Platforms will need to focus on data governance, pre-processing, and storage solutions for both structured and unstructured data. You also need to think about synthetic data generation and leverage synthetic data creation to address any bottlenecks. You need to continuously enhance train your models and simulate the environments, especially in regulated industries like banking and healthcare, where I come from. This allows for faster prototyping and faster product development. And retrieval augmented generation, so RAG, will continue to be crucial for improving the reliability and accuracy and responsibility of GenAI outputs by enabling models to pull precise information from external knowledge base as well as the structured data. Thereby, they will reduce hallucinations. One thing that you need to think about is democratization and accessibility. So low code and no code platforms, the trend of making AI more accessible to non-experts will continue with low code and no code platforms, because that will allow a broader range of users to leverage an AI and bring your own AI, which has already been highlighted by Sahil, where platforms will facilitate the integration of custom or preferred AI models into existing systems. You need to always think about, when you are scaling your product and when you are thinking on conceptualizing and building a roadmap, the challenges that you need to continuously address is computational cost, data privacy and security, ethics, bias and misinformation, and intellectual property infringement, because questions around copyright and the fair use of training data for Gen AI models, they are ongoing and they require resolution. So I'll leave you with the thought that when you conceptualize your Gen AI breakthrough, remember to start lean, listen hard to your customers, and then scale with purpose.
Yeah, that's I think that's a fantastic line to close it. And yeah, I must tell you, this is fantastic discussion, and thanks a lot for everybody's the energy, the insight, the candor I think you brought in. Just to summarize what all we have discussed. So from the conceptualizing point of view, Soumya actually kind of like to stressed upon that user need, the user problem, market research, the competition. And Sahil actually kind of brought in is the ROI, the impact, the emotion sense of it. And then we moved on to how do we realize these concept or the platform we are thinking. So the Biju mentioned the building the customer base, the scale, the MVP to the market penetration, the ecosystem. So those are the key aspect I think. And then Soumya I think added to his I love the word that the sprint to marathon. This is how you think about how you think about the growth stage part of the thing. And the long term, I really love that, the Biju brought out the edge first, the multi-model approach. Sahil actually brought the function centric, domain centric kind of approach. And I think Soumya certainly summed it up like the data centric. That is my feel, and I really I think stress upon more and more. And democratization of AI, bring your own model, that continues to be the center of it. So whether we are building enterprise-grade platform or a nimble GenAI use case, one thing is clear: this field is evolving faster than ever, and the ability to continuously learn, experiment, and adopt will define the winner and the loser of the game. The heartfelt thank you to all my panelists for sharing their perspective with so much of enthusiasm, and thanks to our audience for their time and curiosity however they watch it. So let's continue this discussion. I'm not ending this discussion in this particular session. There is more to discuss. I think this is every day evolving, every day challenging, every day nerve-wracking it is. And let's keep pushing the boundary. So I thanks a lot everyone for participating in this. Thank you all.